enters the chat, then we can add her after. Amazing. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for Impact Alpha's Plugged In series. This is where we spotlight the people driving transformational impact in business, investing, policy, and more. I'm your host, Sherrell Dorsey, and today we're going to get the unique opportunity to hear from leaders in the space of sustainable luxury fashion, a topic I absolutely love. I'm an FIT girl, and I got an amazing opportunity to head to the museum in New York for FIT's African fashion exhibit, which really centered amazing African designers in the space of sustainability. But enough about me. The fashion industry is undergoing a revolution, and these sustainable practices are starting to disrupt fast fashion with eco-conscious materials, cutting-edge production methods, as well as ethical sourcing. And so this conversation today is with our guests, Felita Harris, who's a former LVMH executive and is currently the executive director of RAISEFashion, and our amazing fashion designer, Jacques Agbobly. I apologize. We're going to be exploring today how the luxury sector is innovating in waste reduction, as well as equity and inclusion. Felita and Jacques, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, thank you for having us.
So I will say that this is our first Plugged In where we have had the topic of fashion. And we know that fashion is so universal, whether we are fashionistas or enthusiasts or not. It touches every single area of our lives, from the way that we decorate our homes to, of course, the attire that we wear, the uniforms that people wear from a workplace perspective. And so when we think about this idea of sustainability, this conversation is definitely apropos. And Felita, I would love to just start with having you really talk about the mission behind RAISEFashion and why you decided to create this space, particularly for BIPOC designers, to get the support they need to really enter and be transformative in the luxury sustainability market.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for the invitation to join. We started RAISEFashion, meaning our board of 8 incredible women. We started RAISEFashion 4 years ago after the murder of George Floyd to support emerging BIPOC designers in scaling up their business. We provide pro bono strategy, grant resources, and a massive network of experts to really work alongside designers in providing all of the resources they need to scale up their business and to connect with the fashion industry.
Amazing. And Jacques, what got you interested in Raise? How did you come to find Raise? And maybe you can just give us a little bit about your journey into fashion design.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to say that I didn't find Raise found me. Just because, I think it's one of those programs that when you are a designer in the industry, a BIPOC designer in the industry, there's a lot of opportunities that and directions that you can go in. And I think RAISEFashion has been one of those catalysts, organizations that have really supported me along my journey through every single phase. And I think that, they found me, and, my journey in the industry stems from working for other brands. I graduated from Parsons School of Design in 2020. And then shortly thereafter, I launched my brand. And then through launching my brand, I was working for other brands as well until I decided to do my brand full time and found RAISEFashion. They found me and I found them right after. And it's been the greatest relationship I've ever been in. So, yes. So in that regard, that's a little bit about my industry experience. And
yes, amazing. And for those of us who are also joining us this afternoon, thank you so much for tuning in. The replay of this video will be available after. So if you popped in a little later or you do have to jump, just know that it will be here on LinkedIn. And we'd also love to hear from you also. Make sure that you use the comments in the chat to drop any questions you have for our panelists today. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to ImpactAlpha.com to get our latest news and insights on trends within the impact investing industry, as well as some of these topics around sustainable fashion. So I want to go back into the conversation here. And Felita, I would love to learn just a bit more about this focus that Raise has on equity and inclusion within the fashion industry. How does this concept of social equity, of course, we've heard this term so much, but then when we think about the intersection of environmental sustainability, even within the luxury space, how does that actually play out? Why is it significant? And why is like Raise actually focused on this?
Yeah, well, I think, when you look at social equity and environmental sustainability, they definitely go hand in hand. When you look at the luxury space, at the core, they are both responsible practices. And that's why it's important to raise. Social equity for us means creating opportunities for a diverse range of talent. And that's what we look for when we're in the marketplace, searching for incredible designers like Jacques. And this involves like really identifying their practice, their use of materials, their creativity, and how they are scaling up and searching for trends, staying on trends with the luxury space. I think that we are also very cognizant that social equity and environmental sustainability are not mutually exclusive. They involve really marrying the two practices at every stage. And so I think that's why for us, it's very important that we are looking for talent that keep both of those in mind as they are really designing their collections.
Mm-hmm. And Jacques, I would love for you to just kind of piggyback on that, and especially just as a designer, how are you approaching sustainability in your creative process, especially just with the identity, of the brand? And I was able to lust over a lot of your pieces there on the site, and I want to make sure I'll make sure our producers also drop your website, because you have beautiful, beautiful pieces and dresses that you design here. But tell us a little bit more about your approach to incorporating sustainability into your designs.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just as a designer that's from a different country, a designer that's a Black designer, working oftentimes with very to little resources, you learn how to kind of work efficiently, but also learn to preserve and learn to work from a sustainable place automatically. It's kind of like a given. And when I started my brand, I started with no money, no resources, and it was just kind of fundraising from my community, and my community pouring into me at a time where a lot of things were shifting in the industry. So I was able to start my brand off of just community support, and from then on, I had no choice but to be sustainable, and that was from sourcing materials. I was knitting everything myself in the first go around. I was making all the clothing on myself, and then working with people on an individual level to kind of create pieces for them that was special for them, that they will keep in their closet for longer. And that came with making sustainable choices automatically. And so that's kind of, and as my brand grows, I've kind of approached it in that similar range of working with people on an individual level to create things that are specially made for them. And I think that's something that I grew up with in Togo, West Africa. And, and it's a part of my brand that I want to kind of continue to sustain as I get bigger.
I love too that there's a sense of just education around quality and craftsmanship that we know is missing from fast fashion in the world of like Instagramming a new outfit all the time. And I think there's really something inherent in the brand story of building something that lasts And I love that you just mentioned that you get more wear. So it's not something you're going to wash and it disintegrates, right? Something that, I try to preserve a lot of my pieces for like my nieces.
Mm-hmm.
So just things that I think maybe one day some exhibit might want to have that I have one of those pieces from this designer from like 50 years ago, right? And I definitely have those pieces from my mom. So I love that. You talked about, the early components of constructing your brand, how you were able to manufacture as well as get materials via, almost crowdsourcing. It kind of sounds like. Can you also talk about maybe some of the sustainable materials or production techniques you're using today
Yeah.
that excite you?
Yeah, absolutely. In our knitwear, we use mostly all natural fibers that come from either the land, plant fiber, or from animals. We use natural fibers in that, like, wool is from sheep, right? And it comes in many different color variety, and I love it because you don't have to, it's I'm a color person. I use a lot of colors in my work, and wool is something that holds color really well. So those are some of the natural fibers those are some of the sustainable fibers that we use, and we mostly also source from direct farmers or direct, mills that are like making yarn mills that are like, mom and pop yarn mills in Italy that are like literally just taking it from the farm, and making yarn from it and then selling it directly to us. So we're not like using like you know, a bigger company in that realm. I would also say a lot of our sustainable practices is a lot of the development is in-house, which, that's where you can kind of control all the resources that you're using. And when I started, and I still today, I do a lot of my knitting in my studio. A lot of my knitwear comes from machines where I'm able to actually like test out, like, okay, how much yarn we are actually using in this garment, so that like I'm only sending that when it comes time for production. I'm making sure that I'm sending that exact amount to production, so they're not wasting anything, um, any resources in that. And I asked them to give me back all the yarns that like they didn't use, and all the yarns that, um actually, all the, mishaps that happen, because we can spin it back into a yarn, and then we can use it again. So it's really kind of building a system that is circular, where we understand that, clothing has a life cycle to it, but that life cycle doesn't need to be spent through, you know by just wasting resources.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to take a moment here just to acknowledge some of the comments I'm seeing. It looks like someone is here from my alma mater, FIT, who's in the textile and service design space, and saying that they love this topic. Would definitely love to connect. So make sure that you follow Felita as well as Jacques. As she says that Connect is up as cultural inclusion, and how that really looks into sustainability as well. And so thank you for joining us. And also we had another person mention that, it's great having things from the 40s and reusing them today. That's really amazing that you have things from the 40s.
Actually, the thing that's interesting is the equipment that I use in my studio. A lot of those machines, the knitting machines, come from like the 60s, the 70s, and they've been refurbished. And we're using them today, and that's a lot of the equipment that you are even using in schools like FIT. It's like machines from like the 80s that students are having access to now. And I think it's so beautiful that like we get to, if things are made well, they can last a long time, and that's a testament to that, because my machine is literally from the 80s, and I still like it still works perfectly fine.
And it's really a special experience going to Jock's studio. One, it's very different from working with a luxury brand or a larger brand where there are many resources, and with that you definitely have a lot of waste. Well, in his studio, he's using everything to create magic, right? These artisan gorgeous pieces that are one of a kind. And I think, with collaboration and bringing in diverse talent, you get a chance to really see like that collaboration, that magic, that alignment. and propel diverse talent forward. And that's really, I think, what we get a chance to do at Raise is to discover talent like Jacques, to get into his process, to see what he's able to do, capture that experience. And you know, I am certainly inspired by it when I go to his studio. It's really, it's super inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot about the last couple of years. We've seen many more, particularly Black designers, get access to more higher end department stores, be it being able to sell these beautiful pieces with like the Nordstroms or the Neiman Marcus of the world, including, of course, their own like direct to consumer sites. So, Felita, I'm curious about how luxury brands can balance also the desire for exclusivity and craftsmanship with this movement towards more sustainable materials and production. And kind of adjacent to that part of the question is the idea of sustainable fashion branding within the luxury space also a unique selling point as well? You know, does it make sense that, you know, amazing designers like Jacques are crafting these beautiful pieces? Is it necessary to say, oh, by the way, you know, these are also sustainable? They're also, you know, zero waste fashion, you know, to an extent.
I think it is. Yeah, that's a great question. I think it absolutely is a selling point. I think customers want that. I mean, we have conscious customers, sustainable. We have a lot of customers that certainly is a buying point, and they want unique pieces. Like these are, you know, these diverse designers are not manufacturing many units, right? And so, you know, in most cases, they are truly one of a kind. And that's a distribution opportunity for large scale retailers. That's an opportunity for them to market these diverse designers in a unique way. So for example, if you're Jacques and you're sold in Neiman Marcus or Bergdorf Goodman, you can really create that story and talk about it to your customer and really bring them to your location versus them being drawn to another. So it is a very unique selling point. I think retailers are starting to understand that. I think we've been able to showcase those opportunities over the last 4 or 5 years as they've been more open to onboarding more diverse talent.
Yeah. I would love to, this question is really for both of you, but I think a lot about just consumer behavior and specifically how our tastes have changed and evolved. I think especially with social media, it seems to have grown this appetite for luxury brands and goods and exclusivity. And I'm curious about the role that consumers like myself in this space, what role we play in really driving sustainable practices in the luxury market and ensuring that designers like Jacques and those that you work with at Raise, Felita, really get an opportunity to shine and sort of be household names and aspiring luxury goods that we are willing to save up for and to keep and to maintain, you know, for years to come. Maybe Jacques, I can start with you just on that end to get your thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the most, you know, direct way of ensuring that is by purchasing from designers directly. You know, I think that that's like a very important kind of flat note. Like, if you see something that you like, you know, make sure that you're making a conscious decision to purchase that or to have it, you know. And I think it's really just about making conscious choices on a day-to-day basis, because sustainability can be a practice, you know, that you do on your day-to-day life, but it doesn't necessarily, you know, means that you are like, you know, it's like not an active choice. Like, it's not like you're not saving the world by just buying sustainable clothing. You have to put sustainability in other parts of your life as well, and make that an active, ongoing choice. So I think that's how I would approach it.
That's such a great point.
I love that. So absolutely buy the product. I also think do your homework. Like, you know, a lot of these organizations like Raise, we are constantly searching for new talent, but sometimes we need referrals. We need DMs. Like, it's a community effort to source and discover new talent. So as consumers are doing their homework, we all can lift or uplift emerging brands, sustainable brands, ethical brands. So I think doing the homework and sharing the stories of these brands is very important. The use of social media is undeniable. And I also think, like, if you are buying sustainable and ethically sourced brands, then we need to continue that and pass it down.
Yeah.
It doesn't, recycling is real. So let's use it or keep it in the family. Like, I am saving so much product for my daughter. And I think we still don't think through like the next step in the cycle. So I think that's very important that we continue to think like we don't have to always keep buying product. We can think about people in our families that maybe need that product.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to a larger point, Felita, around, broader systemic change. I love that you both highlighted, here's what we can do to adopt more sustainability practices across the board in our lives. Fashion is a great place to kind of think about that. But also, it also seems as though, the industry is either quick, fast, cheap, or slower, exclusive, more expensive. But it seems that the idea of longevity as a whole could benefit, of course, not just the industry, but the planet as well. And so I'm curious, like, what does the luxury sector really need to do, and sort of how is Raise kind of even providing influence in that space of, just better systemic change and how we're producing, product overall?
Well, I would say Raise, we serve definitely as a powerful bridge to connect emerging talent to luxury brands committed to advancing both inclusive and sustainable practices. We also have created an advisory ecosystem where both brands and designers can connect, as well as suppliers can share their resources with these designers. So that in itself is opening doors and expanding networks. And that is why we established RAISEFashion. Beyond that, I think it's also about educational initiatives through our master classes. And we cannot underestimate the education, the certifications that it takes to continue advancing really some of the skill sets that are needed in this particular area. And then I would say, lastly, collaboration. We absolutely need the financial resources from these luxury brands and groups to continue providing funding to emerging brands. Jacques is incredibly talented, and it will take multiples of resources, financial resources, to continue advancing his exceptional work and artisans like Jacques. And so that's our role. And I think it's luxury brands and groups' role to continue recognizing his talent and others, and reaching across, back, and forward to advance that work.
Absolutely. And I think that's almost a call. I'm sorry, Jacques, go ahead.
I was like, can I add to that? I was going to say, I think that Felita made such great points, but as well as I want to add, a big part of Raise is also not only introducing, these emerging brands to, bigger luxury giants, but it's also like, it's kind of vice versa. It's us putting us in their face as well to showcase that, like, luxury is diverse. And I think for a really long time, a lot of Black folks, a lot of BIPOC folks didn't see themselves in the luxury sector, and that really created kind of a lot of problems for us. But then luxury is, something that, like, I grew up with, which was, handmade clothing by artisans, handmade access to handmade bags, all of that. Like, but I'm from, Africa. I'm from Togo. I'm from West Africa, where that's like a norm. That to us isn't like what we view as luxury, but you come to the US and then something like that is viewed as luxury. So it's really kind of about diversifying that language, but also diversifying the experience of what luxury could mean to a wide variety of it's to a wider audience. And so Raise kind of does, it's like the great connector in that it really provides it both ways.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that you both really highlight both language and visibility and access. And I think that even more so from a consumer standpoint, there seems to also be some language and education for potential investors and partners in this space as well, and the opportunity that there could be in understanding the value of the circular economy within the fashion design space, but then also this emerging talent that is, housed in places and spaces like Raise, where they're getting a lot of the training and the support and can enter into these spaces almost with, a bit of handholding, right? And hopefully that also means much more success and visibility as the, customer market continues to grow, become much more savvy, and also doesn't want the same look or run-of-the-mill things that are currently offered on a mass kind of market, distribution space, right? I just wanted to kind of add that in, especially for investors who have joined the call and haven't thought specifically about the fashion industry space, but that opportunity around new opportunities where it's not just the fashion or the design, it's the textiles, it's the technology, it's all of those pieces that get a product from start to finish and into the hands of a consumer that present a lot of opportunity for those who are investing in this space, and particularly in the space of sustainability. I really just quickly wanted to turn to our comments here again. We do have a user who says that they have an 18 harness loom from FIT that they have in their office. Which is just so cool. They used to weave fabric now and shows their grandchildren how to use it. And they can't wait to connect with you, Jacques, and all the unique pieces that give the best touch, like Ms. Felita mentioned. I love that. I also love all the love from the FIT folks. I know Jacques went to Parsons.
Oh, yes. I love that.
Yeah, as a menswear designer, and we always go back and forth with the rival.
I love it.
And then I also wanted to highlight this question from Daryl Riley. He says he's a co-founder and CEO of a fashion tech business, Tendaji, and his ask is, what is advice you may have for BIPOC designers on protecting intellectual property, which we know is a tremendous challenge in the fashion industry, especially when it comes to luxury designers and their work being knocked off. This was a fabulous question, Daryl. Oh, actually, my god sister's on here. Afua. Okay, she's shouting out Parsons. That's okay. You have friends here, Jacques.
Yeah.
But yes, to Daryl's question, yes. What's your advice for protecting intellectual property? Jacques, I would love for you to start first, and maybe Felita, if this is something that you all talk about at Raise, would love to get your thoughts as well.
I would say the only advice is get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. And I through the Raise fashion community, that was one of the master classes that we actually had, was really about intellectual property and how to protect it. And that goes from anywhere to applying for your trademark earlier on, all the way to like even the prints that you're using in your work, you can get that copyrighted so that if somebody else takes that, like then it will be an issue. So it's really just about getting a lawyer, a fashion lawyer specifically, who's well versed in fashion law, which is still something that we're dealing with on a day-to-day. And you don't know your protections as a creative person, so it's really good to invest in a good lawyer from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think that artists are the most incredible beings on earth. If you think about anything that you see outside of nature that's beautiful, it was created by an artist, and they need to be protected. And the only individuals that are prepared to do that are attorneys. And so that is how serious you should take your art. is to hire someone who is skilled in your area of business, of art, to secure that. And you should take that much pride in what you do. And if you have to get a second job to secure that and protect that, you need to do that. That should be priority. And we do, so at Raise, we provide pro bono strategy for designers that come into our network. And we also provide master classes. Those master classes span 8 weeks and about 35 sessions from brand mission, vision, values, supply chain, financial literacy, and as Jack mentioned, a great deal of master classes around protecting your business. And it's hard because getting advice from an attorney is expensive, but it is the best investment you will make as a creator, because if you don't, you will be out of business, and you don't want to see your hopes, your dreams, and your creativity in someone else's bank account.
Yeah.
That is a great way to say that. Yes, you do not want to see all of your hard work and creativity in someone else's bank account. I love this. I love this. As we close out, I'd love to just get you all's thoughts on, the next 5 to 10 years, where you all anticipate expectations in the sustainable luxury, space. Are we going to see greater improvements? Are we going to see greater demand? Are we going to see retailers really kind of open up their doors and coffers to new and emerging designners? Would love your thoughts, or maybe even just wishes for what the next 5 to 10 years might look like.
Jacques, maybe you go first.
Yeah, I can go first. I was going to say, I think, the work is already being done. I think that the work has always been getting done, especially in like the emerging designer space. And I think it's about time that a lot of these bigger houses, these retailers, we hope that like within the next 5 to 10 years, they are, more open to new ideas, more open to the potential of what fashion could be when you're not coming from, lots and lots of like investments. And I think, it's really going to be up to them to decide, how these initiatives, not only initiatives, but how, these new ways of making, or that designers are partaking in, is going to, influence the global fashion industry at large, because everything starts from emerging designers, and a lot of these bigger place houses look to emerging designers to see what's new. So the work is already being done.
Absolutely. And Felita, I would love to get your thoughts here.
I know. How can I follow that? He's right. The future is definitely about emerging designers setting that powerful example, an example of transparency, and brands being accountable for opening doors and allowing that like organic collaboration. I think that's going to be really, really important. Clear insights into sourcing and materials and the production process. But yeah, I do think the future of sustainability is all about, purpose and genuine connection. Consumers want that, they expect that, and it's all about the values that we all share.
Love that. Thank you. And thank you everyone who's joined us as well this afternoon. It looks like we've got a lot of Parsons representing. We won't hold that against you all. It also looks like Candice Marquez, she's in the luxury fashion and blockchain tech, and that is going to continue to be huge in both Web 2 and Web 3. So that's a really great tidbit. Thank you so much for joining us, Candice. And Jacques and Felita, thank you both for joining us here today. And just for the work that you all are doing in this space, and the art and the artistry that you all are cultivating, and of course the space that you're creating for BIPOC designers to be visible, to be represented, especially in an environment like sustainability and how significant that is. So thank you both, and thank you for everyone who joined us this afternoon. And if you haven't already, again, make sure you subscribe to ImpactAlpha.com so that you can get our daily briefings and access to conversations like this one here. Again, everyone have an incredible day, and you can watch the replay as soon after we end our live. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.